tiaras within the British royal collection. You see it, it's iconic, it's connected with Diana, Queen Mary, Catherine tiara, and it has quite the history, especially when you consider that there's kind of two names attached to it. The Queen Mary's Lover's Knot and the Cambridge Lover's Knot.
As the heir to the British throne, Prince William is cordial to Queen Camilla in public. William's facial expression looked attentive and formal, however, he showed signs of discomfort.
They say behind every royal smile lies a storm the cameras never catch. But what happens when that storm brews inside the palace itself? Whispers echo through Windsor. Camilla, the Queen Consort, didn't just ask for Catherine's royal tiara, she demanded it. And when William found out, the silence in the corridors turned cold. It wasn't about the diamonds or the crown, it was about respect. A gesture that crossed the invisible line between tradition and personal pride. For years, the palace has played by its own rules, but this time, someone might have pushed too far. Behind closed doors, tensions rose higher than anyone expected, and Catherine was caught in the middle of it all. So, was this just a misunderstanding, or a deliberate move by Camilla to remind everyone who holds the power now? One thing's for sure, William's reaction left the palace staff frozen. Stay with us, because what really went down that night will make you see the royal family in a completely different light. The tiara that started it all. To the outside world, it was simply another jewel, another dazzling piece from the royal collection that caught the light perfectly under chandeliers and flashbulbs. But for Catherine, the Princess of Wales, it was something far more personal. Every time she fastened that tiara into her hair, she wasn't just adorning herself with diamonds and pearls, she was wearing history, love, and loss all at once. That tiara, known among the palace staff as the Lover's Knot, carried with it whispers of the past. Crafted over a century ago, it was originally designed for Queen Mary. Later, it became one of Princess Diana's favorite pieces, one she wore at state dinners, charity events, and during moments when the world demanded she look unshakably regal, even when her heart was breaking inside. Catherine knew this history intimately. When she wore it for the first time, her reflection in the mirror didn't just show a princess, it showed a connection between two women separated by time.
First time Kate has rocked a tiara since 2023, and for the occasion, the princess donned Queen Mary's Lover's Knot tiara, a fave of her late mother-in-law, Princess Diana's.
Yet united by grace, the tiara had seen both triumph and tragedy, and in her hands, it became a promise that Diana's spirit, her elegance, and her quiet strength would never be forgotten. So when the murmur reached William's ears that Camilla had requested to borrow that exact tiara, everything shifted. The news came softly at first, through a discreet message from one of the senior aides, but its impact was immediate. William froze. It was as if the past had suddenly walked into the room, uninvited and unkind. That tiara wasn't just a royal accessory, it was one of the few things that made him feel close to his late mother. The idea of seeing it placed on another head, especially Camilla's, was almost unbearable. The air in the royal quarters changed after that. Words were chosen carefully. Servants moved a little quieter. Even Catherine could feel the unease surrounding her. She tried to reason that perhaps it was all just a misunderstanding, that Camilla's intentions might be harmless. But deep down, she knew William's pain. He had spent decades trying to protect his mother's legacy from being overshadowed or rewritten. What made the situation more unsettling was the timing. Camilla's upcoming event wasn't a royal duty, it was a private gala, something she could easily attend wearing her own crown jewels. Yet she specifically asked for the Lover's Knot, calling it a piece worthy of her new status. To Catherine, it sounded like a challenge. To William, it was an insult, a deliberate act that struck too close to the heart. The palace walls might have been gilded, but even gold couldn't hide the growing tension. It wasn't just about who wore the tiara, it was about what it represented: the clash between old wounds and new power. The past and the present stood face to face once again, and in that silent confrontation, a storm was quietly brewing, and that's where everything truly began to unravel. Catherine caught in the middle. Catherine had always been known for her calm, almost unshakable composure. She had built a reputation as the royal who could endure pressure with a smile, the one who never faltered, no matter how many cameras followed her or how many rumors swirled around. But this time things were different. When the message came, it wasn't through formal channels. It came quietly, a call from Camilla's personal aide, followed by a handwritten note that carried the Queen Consort's seal. In carefully chosen words, Camilla had requested that the tiara be sent to her dressing chamber ahead of an upcoming private event. Yet the tone didn't feel like a request at all. It felt like a command wrapped in politeness. Catherine read the letter twice, her hands trembling slightly. The words were soft, but their meaning was heavy. For a long moment, she just stared at the paper, unsure how to react. Her instincts told her this wasn't about jewelry, it was about power, about who controlled the narrative within the palace. She had never wanted conflict. Her nature was gentle, her manner always gracious. But deep down, Catherine understood that saying yes would mean something larger. It would mean surrendering a piece of sacred history. That tiara wasn't merely gold and stone. It carried the memory of Diana, the woman whose grace still lingered in every room of the royal estate. And there was the cruel irony of it all, that Camilla, once the source of so much of Diana's pain, now wished to wear the very symbol that had once crowned her rival's head. For Catherine, that thought alone was enough to make her heart ache. It wasn't hatred, it was sorrow, the kind that comes from knowing that some lines once crossed can't ever be redrawn. But what could she do? Camilla was the Queen Consort now, and with that title came undeniable authority.
The new king's darling wife has become the Queen Consort.
Refusing her outright could be seen as disrespect, an act that might ripple through the hierarchy of the palace. Catherine knew her role: to maintain harmony, to avoid scandal, to smile even when it hurt. That evening, when she told William about the request, the air between them grew heavy. He didn't respond right away. He just stood near the window, staring out at the gardens where his mother used to walk. The silence stretched on until even the sound of the ticking clock seemed too loud. He didn't yell, he didn't even speak. His reaction was colder, quieter, and somehow more terrifying. His jaw tightened, and his eyes darkened with a look Catherine had rarely seen before. It wasn't just anger, it was heartbreak mixed with defiance. In that moment, Catherine realized this wasn't merely about a borrowed jewel, it was about something much deeper. The tiara had become a symbol of lineage, loyalty, and loss. Lending it out would mean allowing history to be rewritten, and as the silence filled the room, she knew one thing with certainty: William would not allow that to happen. Not now, not ever. The quiet rage of Prince William. For years, Prince William had been known as the embodiment of composure, a man who carried the weight of monarchy with grace, patience, and an almost unshakable calm. His quiet confidence was something people admired. Yet beneath that calm exterior lay a deeply emotional man, one who had lived through loss, betrayal, and the ever-present shadow of his mother's memory. Those who had served close to him often said that William's silence, when angry, spoke louder than any royal decree. And this time, that silence was deafening. When word reached him that Queen Camilla had not only requested but already arranged for her stylist to prepare the lover's knot tiara for her upcoming gala, something inside William snapped. To most, it was just another glittering accessory, but to him, it was sacred. The final piece of his mother's story he still had some control over. "That crown belongs to my mother's legacy," he reportedly told a senior aide, his voice cold and steady. "It's not a trinket for someone's vanity." There were no raised voices, no slammed doors, but the tension inside Kensington Palace was unmistakable. Meetings were abruptly cancelled, conversations went unfinished, and a chill seemed to settle in every corridor where William passed. He wasn't throwing tantrums or issuing orders, he was simply refusing. Every attempt from Camilla's office to secure the tiara met with the same response. Her Royal Highness regrets to inform that the piece is unavailable for loan. Polite, measured, but finally. Behind the polished royal smiles, the storm brewed. Catherine saw it unfolding in real time, the subtle stiffness in her husband's posture, the clipped tone in his responses, the long silences at breakfast. William was hurt. And more than that, he was disappointed. It wasn't about Camilla as a person anymore. It was about what she represented, a past filled with wounds that had never fully healed. To him, allowing Camilla to wear Diana's most personal tiara was like rewriting history with the wrong ink. Even palace staff felt the unease. A few aides whispered that they hadn't seen William this cold since the early days of royal tension surrounding his brother. "He's not shouting," one confidant reportedly said, "but his silence is dangerous. When William goes quiet, that's when you should be worried." Meanwhile, Camilla's team wasn't backing down. Her private secretary sent polite reminders, couched in formal royal language but edged with entitlement. After all, she was the Queen Consort in her view. She didn't need permission for something that now technically belonged to the royal collection.
Charles becomes king, it is my sincere wish that, when the time comes, Camilla will be known as Queen Consort as she continues her own loyal service.
To her, it was just protocol. To William, it was personal desecration. Catherine found herself torn between duty and devotion. She understood both sides. The hierarchy demanded compliance, but her heart sided with William. The tiara symbolized love, loss, and legacy, things no rulebook could dictate. As she watched her husband battle an invisible war of restraint, she quietly resolved to support him, even if it meant defying palace tradition. Days passed, and the tension only grew. Aides tiptoed through conversations, avoiding eye contact whenever the tiara was mentioned. Invitations for joint appearances between William and Camilla were subtly postponed. The Queen Consort, for the first time in years, found herself encountering resistance from within the family she believed she had finally won over. William didn't intend to start a feud, but he wasn't going to surrender his mother's memory either. His quiet rage carried the weight of 2 decades of unspoken grief. And though no headline captured it, everyone inside those palace walls could feel it. A storm was coming, and it started with a single piece of jewelry that should have remained untouched. Camilla's countermove. When Camilla realized that her request for the lover's knot tiara wasn't being fulfilled, she didn't retreat, she recalculated. Those who knew her well said she'd mastered the art of turning defiance into diplomacy. She understood that open confrontation with William or Catherine would only make her appear unreasonable, so she changed her approach. In private conversations with her aides, she began framing the situation as a simple misunderstanding. She claimed she had never intended to wear the tiara at all, merely to borrow it for display in an upcoming royal history exhibition that celebrated iconic jewelry through the ages. It sounded harmless, even generous. But palace insiders weren't convinced. The tone, timing, and persistence of her messages made it clear that Camilla's interest wasn't about curation or history, it was about symbolism. The tiara wasn't just an accessory, it was an icon of royal womanhood, of power and grace once embodied by Diana herself. For Camilla, finally being seen with that piece, even briefly, would signify something monumental. It would represent her long, painful journey from being an outsider, whispered about and criticized, to becoming the official Queen Consort.
Once known as the other woman, Camilla is now the queen. Kind of. The new king's darling wife has become the Queen Consort.
To her, the tiara symbolized arrival, legitimacy, and perhaps even vindication. But that was exactly what William dreaded. The thought of Camilla placing herself in the same visual lineage as his mother was intolerable. In his mind, Diana's memory had already been exploited enough. Allowing that tiara to reappear under Camilla's name, even for a public exhibit, would forever blur the lines between past and present, between love and betrayal. And for William, that was not negotiable. Catherine tried, as always, to smooth the tension. She had grown used to navigating fragile royal egos and delicate political moments, but this one was different. This was personal. When she attempted to reason with Camilla, suggesting that perhaps another piece from the royal collection might be more appropriate, Camilla's response reportedly carried a sharp edge cloaked in a smile. "It's just a tiara, dear," she said with a hint of mockery. "Let's not make it so dramatic." But everyone in that gilded room knew better. This wasn't about jewels, it was about legacy. The lover's knot tiara had transcended fashion long ago. It was a living relic of Diana's spirit, a crown that carried whispers of love, loss.
That's one of Princess Diana's favorites. It's actually the one that she wore at her wedding.
And the people's devotion. For Camilla to lay claim to it, even for a night, would be like rewriting a chapter of royal history, one that the public still held close to their hearts. Behind the dazzling smiles and picture-perfect appearances at royal events, an invisible chess game was underway. Every move Camilla made was countered quietly by William's restraint, every polite exchange masking a deeper rivalry. Beneath the polished crowns and glittering jewels, what was truly at stake wasn't gold or diamonds, it was power, memory, and the right to define the royal story that the world would remember. The aftermath inside the palace. In the days that followed the quiet confrontation, something inside the royal walls felt different, an unspoken chill that couldn't be ignored. Those who worked in the palace every day noticed it first. The subtle laughter that usually filled the private dining rooms had vanished. The corridors, once echoing with casual conversation, now carried only the sound of footsteps and hushed whispers. What had started as a dispute over a single piece of jewelry had evolved into something far deeper, a reflection of old wounds and loyalties that had never truly healed. The tiara, of course, never left Catherine's care. It remained locked away, resting in its velvet case under tight supervision. But keeping it had come at a price. The once effortless harmony between the Prince and Princess of Wales and the senior royals now seemed strained. At official functions, Catherine's smiles appeared slightly more practiced, and William's protective gestures more deliberate. They were united, yes, but it was the kind of unity that came from standing back to back in a battle, not from peace. Within Camilla's circle, quiet shifts began to occur. Invitations that once came easily to Catherine were now overlooked. Subtle exclusions, a luncheon postponed here, a meeting rescheduled there, began to form an unmistakable pattern. Courtiers, ever observant, adjusted their allegiances accordingly. In the world of the monarchy, loyalty often followed proximity to power, and now those boundaries were being redrawn. Behind the scenes, King Charles reportedly made an effort to calm the waters. Those close to him say he spoke to both sides privately, urging them to preserve unity above all. To him, the image of a divided royal family was a greater threat than any disagreement. Yet his efforts did little to mend the rift. The problem wasn't just the tiara, it was everything it represented. Diana's memory, Camilla's assent, William's devotion, and Catherine's quiet grace all collided in that one decision. The Queen Consort, for her part, carried on as though nothing had happened. Her public appearances remained poised, her speeches polished. But those who knew how to read the subtleties of royal behavior saw the faint coolness in her tone when Catherine's name was mentioned, the slightly forced civility during shared engagements. The tension wasn't open, but it lingered like perfume in a closed room, invisible, yet impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, William's stance only hardened. He appeared even more protective of Catherine in public, often guiding her gently through crowds or placing a reassuring hand on her back during events. Insiders interpreted it as a silent message she was his priority, and he would defend her peace as fiercely as he once defended his mother's memory. By the time the royal press noticed the subtle shift in tone, it was already too late to conceal it. The balance inside the palace had changed. Lines had been drawn invisible, but undeniable. For Catherine, the lover's knot was no longer just a tiara. It had become a burden, a banner, and a test of quiet resilience in a world where silence was often mistaken for surrender. In the end, the royal palace didn't crumble, but something inside it did trust. What began as a simple request for a tiara revealed much more: pride, pain, and the delicate dance between power and respect. Catherine chose grace, as always. William chose loyalty. And Camilla? She walked away with a reminder that even a queen's command has limits. The tiara still shines, locked safely within the royal collection, a silent witness to the tension it caused. Every sparkle reflects more than beauty. It reflects the weight of history and the people who dare to guard it. For the royal family, this wasn't just another rumor. It was a reminder that even in palaces, emotions can clash like thunder, and that love, loyalty, and legacy still mean more than gold or crowns ever could. So, what do you think? Was Camilla really wrong for asking, or did William overreact by protecting his mother's legacy too fiercely? Tell us your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for more royal revelations and behind-the-scenes truths that the cameras never show. Because in the royal world, the sparkle always hides a story.